Well, it's Monday, the day after Easter. We're all here. We get to, let's dive in. Anyway, hi, how are you, Shannon?
Breathe.
Yeah,
Good.
nice to breathe. Let me put spotlights on people. Spotlight, at spotlight.
Yeah.
Crystal's on. Hi, Crystal. So, how's everyone doing? Someone want to share?
Good.
So let me put you on mute here so we don't have background noise. There we go.
How's everyone doing today? I'm doing good. You're looking good, looking springy and happy today. I'm very, very grateful. What I wanted to share is I'm still going with my theme of brave because on that emotion scale that I talk about, courage is where I often find myself like, wow, Shannon, you're being courageous today. Keep going. It's so funny because probably every 3 or 4 years I change my phone number because boundaries and wanting to focus. And the last 3 times that I thought about changing my number, I didn't, but I did yesterday. I changed my number because I'm going into another phase. Like I'm within 90 days of moving to Atlanta. I'm studying for my real estate license and just a lot of things that I want to get knocked out. So that was my way of saying, okay, this is like, although I'm not in Atlanta yet, I have a new number and I'm just being very, very focused outside of my family, my husband and my 3 children and my mother. I'm just going to kind of put my head down, take care of myself and focus. So that's something fun and new for me that I changed my number to avoid all the distractions. And I've been off of social media for like 2 months. I had gotten that book, the social media fast, which I think was only 30 days or whatever, but I'm going on 3 months almost. And I haven't missed a beat, and I love it. I feel like I'm getting my life back, meaningful conversations. And so I'm just grateful that, although society or there may be popular things that people do, but just trying to get in tune with what do I want to do, it's been working for me. So thank you for listening. I'll take feedback, but I didn't think I had a question.
Thanks for coming up and sharing your heart and all the new changes. So exciting.
Thank you.
With excitement, it on the scale of the emotion wheel, excitement is very close to anxiety. And we get to choose, like, is it this or that, or can we transmute one to the other? So I applaud you, and I'm just real excited for you to get to play on a new playground and not be cold.
Thank you. I mean, that's a good point because normally I am on the anxiety side. Normally I am on the adrenal fatigue side to get things done. Okay? But I found that the more that I'm learning the self-care and the things that you've taught, I'm so excited. My book came, like the acupuncturist who did the emotions book, and then I got her I Am Worthy journal. Like I've just been going all in to loving me. And I was telling my husband, like, wow, this feels so much better to kind of do things from a place of peace versus a place of anxiety. So I'm like, just always like, what can I do less? Like I hired my little 14-year-old to handle some of the payroll that I do for my sister. So I'm paying him $10 an hour to do that. And doing that last week, I mean, I've used that time to read. I used that time to cook while he was doing those timesheets. So that's what I'm always saying is, how can I delegate more and do less?
That's smart. And then there's an amazing thing doing that with young people. It teaches them confidence and skills. I really like that. My sister has her daughter learning to cook. She's like, how old is she now, Crystal? Is she 8 or 9? 8. And she knows how to hold like a full-on chef's knife like correctly and like chop small, where they it's just amazing. I love it. Um so I guess I'll share. I got to shake off a bunch of stuff the last couple days. I had some big challenges in my life, from 2 different fronts, and I had to test my skills that I've been learning, and um, it was interesting when I spoke with my therapist about what was going on, and he said that if you're confronted with these challenges and you're finding yourself reacting and you're feeling very strong emotion and being triggered, he goes, that's not your real self that's being triggered. That is the child, the timeline version of yourself being triggered. So if you can kind of figure out, like, okay, so I'm feeling these bubbles of emotion right now in response to something someone else did or said. And if you can go, okay, now when was the last time I felt that? Or, that's not really me. The real you, they wouldn't, the real you when you're dead, that's the real you. Like that version of you doesn't care. So that was interesting to me to look at it from that point of view of, okay, so I'm feeling this way. It's not the real me. It really helped me transcend the trauma so that it's not taking it on as this is the real me feels this way. The real me doesn't feel that way. Does that make sense? I'm just kind of talking out loud, but it really, really helped me. And the oils that I found that I really was leaning into was jasmine. And this morning I was looking at my oils. I'm like, what do I need? What do I need? I actually had a dream about this oil, Malama. It's the nurturing blend. doTERRA just released it this month. And it's a Hawaiian, like, I think the word Malama is a Hawaiian mother, and embracing and feeling loved. I know it has Hawaiian sandalwood in it. It's got wild orange, cedarwood, coriander, amyris, lemongrass, magnolia, ylang ylang. Oh, this is a new one. Pepper Sichuan. There's definitely a few in there that I don't know. And then there's Hawaiian sandalwood, but I really like it. So that really helped me kind of like, okay, like I'm feeling better. And then yesterday for Easter, I was like slathering jasmine all over myself. And there's one that doTERRA doesn't carry really, but we got it in our convention kit this past September. It's osmanthus. Osmanthus is in several of the blends, but man, it's really good. It's in deep blue. So I was planning on kind of reading what osmanthus and jasmine do. And then there was something that I wanted to share, and I'm really glad Lisa is here, because you and I had a conversation. Let me put Lisa on ad spotlight. If you know that conversation we had about Ujjayi breath and how that tones the sphincter of the esophagus at the base of the top of the stomach. Because forgive me, I can't remember your name. Your handle says iPhone Sin Mason. What's your first name? Her and I were just talking a moment ago about breath, because I'm seeing her holding a lot of tension in this area. And I wondered if Lisa, if you would explain that Ujjayi breath and how that might tone this area and might release tension.
So Ujjayi is, there's a flap at the throat, and it closes the lungs so that food can go down into the stomach. And then if you don't want, you want oxygen going into your lungs, it also closes so you don't put oxygen down into your lungs. And I'm going to add one more little caveat is that there's a down regulating experience upon doing exhale slowly. So when you do the breath in the beginning, if you're not clear about it through the nostrils, it's the sound of and you make that sound through the nose. I can do a hugely exaggerated version of it. And if you just do the action of that, you start with 3 times, close your eyes, listen for that sound inside the throat. And in the beginning, it'll be very quiet, but you can also amp up the resonance of it. But taking it down, once you understand it, can really clear that throat. We'll just call it the chakra today, the throat chakra today, the communication chakra, because if communication is flowing, then anxiety levels can go down, right? You can collect your thoughts and you can articulate them. And then I just want to reiterate that idea that the exhalation down regulates the mind and the body. The parasympathetic and the nervous system, sympathetic nervous system get down regulated when you do exhalations.
Yeah. I'm going to work on that.
Just practice doing. It's almost like a exaggerated sigh in the beginning. Is let yourself do that sighing, and the sighing releases, I've found, a lot of energy. Oftentimes when I start this breath, I actually start yawning, and I don't try to control that yawning. And it's not that you're going to fall asleep. It's not that you're bored. Don't let yourself get attached to any of the words that go along with yawning. Think of it more as you're accessing just different parts of your lungs, right? The lungs are a really interesting apparatus. They're sacs, and they're not always working all at the same time. So I think of a yawn as those little sacs going, they're like, oh, we just opened up. Is
Okay.
that helpful?
While
Yeah.
we've got you on camera, Lisa, how are you since the weekend?
I had a lot of physical pain from like Friday on, and it was I think I had twisted ribs, so I was using the Yamuna balls and trying to like tactily move the rib away from things so that I could get my breath back in. And I've been arguing with my digestive system because it wants to eat certain things and I'm not letting it. So, which is springtime to me. It's like springtime is saying, come on, have more cheese. And I'm like, no. And to me, food also represents when things aren't working. And also I finished my taxes. So I really that was a huge leap for me to get that out of my way, so that I could have my brain back.
You know, I find that, well, can I give you feedback or just make a comment?
No, go ahead.
I find it so interesting because I had this marathon week of getting stuff done. And then after yesterday, I had been kind of keeping whatever physical pain I normally experience at bay, I think just by being busy. And as soon as I kind of finished some things, you know, like the pain kind of came back, it was that a reminder of the nervous system, how we keep ourselves coiled. And then when it starts to uncoil, we start having more physical sensation and being okay with it.
I really appreciated, because I watched the video that you posted. I mentioned it, and Shannon, you had brought up active listening. And I just thought that was one of the most wonderful reminders of what of helping uncoil the brain a little bit, because I think we wind up in our heads first, and then the body hops into action. And then all of a sudden the body's like, well, that's done. And then the brain is like, no, wait, I'm still wound up. And Kim, you had also mentioned a 12-step for, I think it was Pain Anonymous. I can't remember, but that was really interesting to me. And I'm going to that's the one that I probably need, because I have pain all the time. And I can quiet it, but it's usually when I'm working, when I get it to be quiet.
Yeah. You know, Lisa, I so appreciate your point of view and caring for humanity, and I feel the love. I just love you.
I love everybody that shows up here. It's just so wonderful.
Yes, I was like,
I
But,
want Shannon to describe actually what active listening entails, if I can get her to if that's okay.
yeah, it's just my humble definition. To me, active listening is when someone is speaking. It's automatic for me, but the way that I can describe it is when someone is speaking, really blocking everything out and looking at them and looking in their eyes and hearing every word and just looking for ways you can pour in based on what they're sharing, and I think that's like being fully present is a good way to practice that. And I appreciate you talking about the groups, because for the first time I went to is it called In the Rooms, Kim?
Yes.
Yes, for the first time I attended a CODA meeting, and I just kind of listened in, but it was so reassuring. I have been to like Zoom CODA meetings because of COVID in the past, but that's an amazing resource. I was actually going to go to like a overeating one. But I'm just grateful for the resources here. And I'm grateful for what you shared with the breathing, because I'm always wanting to breathe, but another way now. It's like, wow, I can't wait to incorporate that. So thank you both for your inputs.
Yeah. You brought up something that that I had been reading or listening to and reading. There's a woman named Nikki Myers, and she created yoga in the 12 steps. So it takes the spiritual and ethical practice and physical practice of yoga, and it blends them with the principles of the 12-step program. And she had started with the 12-step program and then lasted a few years and then had relapsed. And then she went full on yoga for several years and then relapsed. And she realized that, and she's a member of several fellowships of 12-step. I think she said for NAAA, CODA, ACA, and debtors and spenders. But bringing the two together is actually where she felt the most held and the most supported and the most complete in how she could work with life and stay in her recovery. So I'm learning about that. And I find it so interesting that it's almost like you can find these magic buttons all over your body, like acupuncture and with breathing, and how can you access the mind and the body and the spirit through these yoga poses, and like I've learned through Lisa, the different mudras in the hands and how that can access our own release. I just find it so interesting. It's like the science of prayer and the science of yoga and acupuncture and all these things and essential oils. Like, how magic! There is so much magic in this world. I just really love that. And what Nikki Myers was one of the videos I was watching of her 12-step yoga program was, what is it that we're using to distract us from the present? And those are a lot of our escapism tools that we've been using. They may or may not be healthy. It's just like, I will notice, because I'm quite squirrely, that if I have something that I need to get done, I will be thinking in my mind of all the things I could do instead. And I know that that is a deeper thing in me, even though the task at hand may not be that hard, but it does require me to feel more of my feelings. And so there's something that I want to kind of discover in being present with my feelings and focus. Because like my older sister is on here, many people on here have known me many years, and they know that I am quite the escape artist on sticking with it. Because they bring up a lot of feelings. How do we finish our project? The reason we don't finish the projects is because we're afraid it wasn't good enough. And how will we feel when it's a failure when we do finish it? You know what I mean? So, but I did want to talk about some tools. So breathing is a amazing tool. So if you have not yet figured out what are the things that are working for you to stay present and to stay with the feeling so that you can release it. So for me, it has definitely been the 12-step meetings. It has definitely been finding community and feeling understood. I definitely have to do the breathing with my oils. I need movement therapy. So whether it be yoga or walking or being in nature. So if you have anything else or tools that you're finding specifically for yourself, I'd love for you to share. I know prayer is a huge one, and surrendering just constantly.
I can tell you something that I do. So I guess I can start my video here. Anyway, hi, how are you guys? I take baths, and I've noticed I had my reading done for whatever, my stars and all that. And I was told some things that I was already doing, and I'm just super drawn to water a lot. And it feels like things are washed away when I use water. And also just going to big bodies of water and being by them and going and touching them. I don't know, there's something about it for me. But I use, like today, I've already done a clay detox bath. So I do a lot of detox baths, and I did tons of them. I took 1 or 2 baths every day right after my our hard thing that happened a few years ago with me. And it just is really, it's felt like a womb, like I close up the hole for the drain where you can only fill up the water so much. I stuff it up with like a washcloth so I can lay all the way up to my neck in water. Anyway, and using essential oils in there too. So something that I like. And I really like stones too. I have a lot of stones around me, a lot of crystals. So.
I love, Jeannie, I just want to take your face and go.
You're so cute. Well, I do want to tell you a miracle that happened with somebody this week with me. I did 2 healing sessions. I did 3 healing sessions with people, but this one was miraculous because I didn't even do anything. All I did was a girl came over to my house, and her husband had been in an accident, and she was really upset not because he had been in the accident so much. Yes, that was stressful because they'd been in the ER and everything, but he was dirt biking and she didn't know it. And she didn't know where he really was. And when she got the call, he was up on the mountain and he was really hurt. she was, in a really not fun place. And so it was a few days later, and she came and she lifted up her elbow and she showed us her elbow. She's like, this is what stress does for me. It comes out on my body, on my elbows. And she had really red elbows and they were all spotty, like she was about to break out in psoriasis and stuff. And I said, well, let's just calm down your emotions a little bit. And so I pulled out neroli for some reason. And I just was drawn to neroli. And so when I did, I looked it up and it was all about stress and emotion in relationships. And that one was huge. I had never used it for emotional things. And about 15 or maybe even 5 minutes later, she lifts up her elbow again and they were all almost completely clear. And that was really powerful because it showed how we can really heal our physical things by healing emotionally. That's all.
Thank you, Jeannie, for sharing. I love the idea that God put all these beautiful things around us to protect us, and it's just remembering that they're there. Like we've got all these layers of the earth, layers and layers, like with the what's the people that do the digging, the archaeologist people. And it's like, we can own the stones, we can have them close, but having them just exist in the world and remembering they're there is also a protection. And like I was looking up in the book about psychic protection, the essential emotions, and how yarrow is specific for creating protection, But and then I remembered that there is so much yarrow growing in the desert. There is a ton of yarrow growing in the desert. And Jeannie, actually, you're the one that pointed it out to me when we were in Utah last spring. And I never knew that that's what it looked like in real life. And I just remembered that, my higher power is protecting me all the time. And just having these physical reminders is so very helpful to me and comforting. That we're surrounded by protection and filter. So,
Kim, do you hug trees too, like to ground you?
I haven't in a while. Usually when I go to like the big redwoods, I've got a big sycamore in my tree that's in my yard. I mean, that's probably good for hugging. I have quite a bit of grass.
That's good.
Yeah.
Walking on that is really good. So I don't
Yeah.
know. That's one of the things I do too, because I don't get to walk a lot on grass. So hugging the tree really helps.
A lot. And you mentioned water. When you're in water, it does the same thing as hugging a tree. It's all those water. It's like the water molecules, like that Dr. Emoto, how he talks about,
Yes.
So when we pray in water, I'm thinking about like all these perfect molecules around me, and they're basically like angels. So it's like angels in the
Ooh.
water, and they're just like, let's just clean this up. That's what we're here for. Like when we breathe in oxygen and we exhale carbon, is it monoxide or dioxide? Dioxide, then that's what the
Okay.
trees need. So having the negative leave our body is not putting negative out in the world. It's actually part of the process. It's part of the filtering that's going on in the world. As my cousin has mentioned that to me, that she doesn't like the feeling of, I'm going to release negative energy because where is it going? But really, it's just part of the process. That's another needed component for the world to work. So, but yeah, those tools of remembering, the support systems we have that are here on the planet, and using our oils as a conduit, as a focal point to remember those things. And from a scientific point of view, that these are actually working to change the chemistry in our brain and the trauma trails that are left behind, so that we can start to work on the timeline of where these triggers come from in our life. I was reminded of a book recently. I read it 15 years ago when I started Rolfing school. It was one of the required reading. And it's by Peter Levine, Waking the Tiger. And I don't even own the book anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I think my dog might have chewed it up. We had a stack of books that I had to put underneath as a leg of a couch. So I think that might have been one of the casualties of when I had a puppy that chewed up the books that were holding up this couch. But I downloaded it again recently, and he was a Rolfer, and then he kind of went and created his own thing called somatic experiencing. And that's where you can kind of work on allowing your body to uncoil that pent up stress and anxiety that has been embedded in your tissue. Many people that I know that have worked their whole life and then they retire and they start to slow down, and their body recognizes that it's time to relax, it's time to let go, and they start having a lot of feelings and a lot of emotion because their body's like, well, now we're not, busy, so we have time to like start uncoiling. So people don't recognize for what it is. This is what's to help us. When we do stay in the present and we do slow down, you're going to start to notice your body letting go, and not to be afraid that it's just your body's response to letting go of the coil. So I did want to mention that resource is Peter Levine, Lev, or I'll type it in the chat. Let me take this, Peter.
And there's one more thing, and I love all the things you're sharing with us, by the way. That's why I always get on here. But there's one more thing I was thinking of that helps me emotionally, and it helps me detox emotions, and that is eating really clean. Because when you detox your body, man, but just recognizing that those are things are coming to, and I just started the master cleanse today too. I haven't done it for years, but my mom knew Stanley Burroughs way back in the day. And, and then being brave enough to deal with those emotions, because I've been eating super clean for a while. And I told my husband, I said, just watch out, because I'll be detoxing emotions because I'm detoxing my body. And I was brave enough to do a lot of things like watch the videos of my son and, things that I couldn't do before. And so it is one of those things that you're nourishing yourself, and your body is going to just jump up and down and thank you. And your emotions will too.
I agree. Here, here. So I really love all of the people that come in here and the tools and the things that we share. So the takeaway is please be kind to yourself, and do the things that are going to really support you to move through. So baths, breathing, prayer, your oils, take a walk. Next week, I'm going to share more of what I'm learning in the 12-step yoga, and how to integrate more of the movements. And I'm just so glad we can do this together, you guys.
Hey, Kim, before you leave, somebody put something in the chat about music. And so there's a link in there if you want to get the YouTube. I just went and opened it, but I'll go back. And I have to say, that's a huge one too. Isn't music so powerful? It is true. Singing, playing the piano, whatever you need to do, listening to it. Yeah. Absolutely. So thanks for reminding us of that. That's what I did. That was my therapy for 6 months. I played the piano like nonstop, hours and hours and hours a day.
Yeah, music is a really good tool. I'm going to make sure that I write this stuff, because at the end of the recordings, usually my sister will write all the notes so that when the recording goes on the to be emailed out, then it has its description. So I'll put all the coping skills that we talked about in there. And yeah, I mean, I was doing my daughter's hair the other day, and she has curly hair, and she doesn't like how it looks and how I'm changing it. But then I turned on some music on my phone, and she's like, fine. Definitely very helpful tool. Does anyone else have another comment they'd like to share before we end? Okay. So everyone have a beautiful day. Thank you for showing up for you.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
day.
You so much. I really appreciate this one. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Showing up.
Thank you.
Lisa.